there! I'm gonna rank all the weapons in Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, but I have to let you know something up front. This is a weapons tier list from someone who's played the weapons for the first time. I've only played with 2 of these weapons for more than a couple hours prior to making this list. So if you're new to the game, this list can be helpful in picking your first weapon. And if you're very experienced, you can convince me why I need to play each weapon more. Let me know what I got wrong. Here we go. Longsword. This weapon is known as the weapon for weebs or people who love anime, and I can understand why. And that title, Longsword, it's an understatement. This weapon is huge, and its attack patterns are very cool looking. It looks so sweet, and you feel like a samurai swinging that thing around. I knew what Longsword was capable of doing without knowing how, but I pulled off a few things. I think it's going to take me some more time learning the weapon to get the full experience, but the few cool flashy combos I got to do were awesome. And the counterattack is busted, by the way. A rank. Greatsword. Leave it to Monster Hunter to give you the biggest, most hulking mass of metal to swing around at giant monsters. It's so hard to hit with this thing, but when you do, oh my goodness, you feel like a champ. I get the hype around this giant sword. It's an all or nothing weapon, but when you hit the jackpot, it's the best feeling. I got to do a fair bit of huge swings against the monsters, and if I hit, I got a huge rush. Oh my gosh, we did it. I think I have a lot to learn about the monsters I'm hunting first before I could have definitely used this thing, but I don't think I'm that far off. B rank. Sword and Shield. This weapon looks small and low powered, but don't let its looks deceive you. The Sword and Shield was surprisingly fast with attacks and just getting around the battlefield. The quickness of sheathing and unsheathing, bouncing all over the battlefield, flying up in the air, all these things the Sword and Shield does. And the perfect rush attack is awesome! I felt really strong using this weapon, and I could definitely see myself picking these up again. They were super fun. I really like this weapon. S rank. Hammer. Calling this a hammer is an understatement. This weapon is the comically large clown hammer, except you fight dragons with it. The weapon felt clunky up front because it's pretty heavy when you're inexperienced with it, but once I got the charge and run move figured out, things got really fun. Staying on the monster's face is the way to go because you get to keep knocking them out and do some crazy follow-up damage with big smashes. Knocking down the monster a lot was super fun, and this made the weapon very appealing to pick up again. B rank. Hunting Horn. Since I've seen this weapon, I thought it was the silliest thing in the game. I'm not a support character player in general, and the thought of whacking huge monsters with a set of metal bagpipes, it just sounds so absurd. But I'm not gonna lie, I really like the Hunting Horn. I was so wrong about this weapon. It's really fun. The sounds are hilarious and the buffs are awesome. Makes me want to see what all it can do. This weapon was so fun, and I'm for sure coming back to try it again. A rank. Lance. I have a friend who plays the Lance, and I have a lot of respect for him. Having a tank in the face of a monster all the time is really valuable. This weapon breaks faces pretty easily too, which is nice. My time with it wasn't as fun. It just wasn't for me. It feels really clunky and slow, and it was kind of boring. There isn't a whole lot for combos, which is great for brand new players for sure. I did get a kick out of the charging move though. I think I'll be fine leaving this one in the item box. F rank. Gunlands. I've been told that Gunlands is the better lance. I don't know if I believe it. It might be only slightly better than the lance. I will say that I think the weapon looks really cool though. I felt like I was shoving a huge revolver in the face of monsters the whole time. I think if I had more time with it, I'd learn some sweet combos, but it just feels so slow. I'm pretty sure I'd appreciate it just as much as the lance when Gunlance users are in my hunting party. It's just not quite for me, I don't think. C rank. Switch Axe. I've heard this weapon called the Swag Axe, or the Swax for short, and I can definitely see why. This weapon was really awesome, and I felt really cool using it. The weapon itself looks sweet with the switch between axe and sword, but the flashing moves you pull off with pretty much every attack is just amazing. I've never felt more like Cloud from Final Fantasy VII with the sword out. It feels weightless compared to the greatsword. This was a really fun weapon, and I'm pretty sure I'm picking this one up again ASAP. S rank. Insect Glaive. I was drawn to this weapon initially because of the big bugs. I'm a huge bug Pokemon fan, and the big bugs on the Insect Glaive remind me of Pokemon. I was super surprised by all the mounts I got with my time with it. I mean, I was in the air a ton, so the mounting damage added up, but it was way more than I thought. This weapon was hard to pick up. I think I'd need some more training with it to see what all it can do. I know there's a whole different system with the bugs themselves that I didn't even dive into. I felt weak during my time with it, but I'm sure it's due to my lack of experience. B rank. Bow. Now here's a ranged weapon that doesn't feel very clunky or huge. Yes, the bow is oversized, but it's not ridiculous, and it feels somewhat realistic if you're into that kind of thing. And the variety of shots you get to fire with coatings on top of it, there's a lot being offered with the bow. I think I could get into this weapon, but it just didn't hit me quite as hard as the other weapons. You move around the battlefield a bunch, but I don't think I got the charge shot stuff fully figured out. B rank. Light bowgun. I was pleasantly surprised by the light bowgun. I like how mobile it was for what it does. It does feel pretty great in damage, though I still don't quite understand the wyvern's fire. I think it does area of effect damage around where you place it, but I think I'll still have to learn it. The light bowgun wasn't quite as engaging as the melee weapons for some reason. There's just something about the first-person shooter feel that makes me a little bored. Really cool design though. B rank. Heavy bowgun. I've heard a lot about the heavy bowgun and how strong, sometimes even overpowered it is. Boom. And I can verify that it feels very strong. But I felt more slow than the greatsword, and at least I was at range for how slow I was. When monsters get to you, it was really hard to get away from them. I think I'll need to learn how to maintain a safe distance to get real good at this weapon. I'm definitely up for trying this weapon again in the future, and I imagine with the group it gets a lot better with some of the heat taken off you. C rank. Dual blades. This one is where my new player perspective changes, because I put in over 100 hours into dual blades. My first completion of Monster Hunter World is with these weapons, and I picked them out specifically because the set of attacks is really small. These weapons are super cool and they're really zippy. You move a ton and dish out a bunch of damage. And I like the quick movement the most, and I feel pretty safe using these as you can dodge out of most attacks, which is unique to dual blades. It's an awesome weapon. A rank. Charge blade. This is the other weapon I put some time into playing. Nowhere near as much as dual blades, but I understand how this weapon works, and man, it feels so satisfying to hit with the axe. Besides the weapon looking really cool with the switch between sword and shield and giant axe, the mechanics of charging it up for huge damage is really interesting. It's a lot to manage, but once you get it figured out, it's clockwork, and you get to see huge numbers. Hard to pick up for sure, but awesome to swing around. A rank. In the future, my plan is to play with each weapon for 100 hours and update this tier list. I'll update the pinned comment and description of this video with my findings after I put in, man, 1,400 hours into this game. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.